Hello and welcome to another knitting update. Happy December, everybody. I have officially moved into my Hobonichi Weeks 2024, and that's really exciting. So at the moment, it is in a plastic cover. However, I do have plans to order an Eternal Leather Goods cover for this, and then I'll take the plastic off. This is the leather. I'm just gonna pull it out because you can't really see how beautiful it is. This is the leather olive green, and I'm really glad that I got this one. I think this is my 6th year now of using the Hobonichi Weeks, and I think this is my absolute favorite cover that I've ever received from them. And the little what do you call them? These ribbons are nice and thick. Always bothers me about the Hobonichi Weeks is the ribbons feel too thin. And I'm only saying this because my primary use for the Hobonichi Weeks has been, well, I have personal to-do lists, and then I have my work to-do lists, and then like a little grocery list. But I have a lot of knitting related keeping track of things in there. So that's why I mentioned it. And it's December and we're like basically in 2024 now at this point. So for knitting, well, first of all, this is the sweater that I knit over the summer from the Good Day Night knitting book. And I'm forgetting the name of this. Is it even Good Day Night? I'll post a link down below to this pattern that I speak of. And I don't even remember the yarn. Oh, it's jungle yarn. But that's all I remember of it. I'm terrible at remembering things. I'm sorry. This last month or two, I don't know how long it's been, I've had a little bit of, it's been a bit of a struggle. And I think part of that is because it feels like it's been so long since I have had a truly completed object. Part of that reason is that my shawl, my Moon Sisters shawl, has been taking up most of my knitting space, and it's taking a very long time. This is a very large shawl, but let's just take a look at it because we are getting really close to the end. This is where I last updated you all on the shawl, and this is how much progress I have made since. And it's beautiful. I love this shawl so much. I've loved working on it. I love the colors. I love the pattern. I love this beautiful center spine where all of these wonderful textures are just kind of flowing into it, and I feel like my eye is always drawn to this and very captivated. It's just such a beautiful shawl, and I've loved working on it. It feels very gratifying and rewarding and calming as well. But it does grow exponentially, and it is getting really long. I think I have almost 500 stitches now on the line, which is a lot, and we're almost done. I'm in my very last garter section, and then we do the border section, and then we do all the fringe, which I have a feeling will be a bit tedious, although very straightforward. So I'm very excited to see this done. I think I will use the heck out of this shawl. These colors are perfect. So at least there's that. That has been very rewarding. However, I feel like I've struggled with everything else. I have started a lot of knits and pulled them out due to just not understanding what I was doing and making a lot of mistakes and then feeling frustrated. And so I also did finish one sock that I'm not too proud of, unfortunately. This is another Emily's favorite sock. And there's a couple things that bother me about this. So I wasn't really enjoying how this green was knitting up. I don't know, the stripes were kind of bothering me. It's not a striping sock, but the way it's dyed, the colors kind of like create a vague sense of stripes. And because you're knitting in the round and you're spiraling down, they're just a little bit askew, which kind of bothers me a little bit. I would rather it be really messy and mottled with no pattern at all, or really structured. I don't care for this in-between state. I want to put it in a messy box or a structured box. I don't like this in-between space. Kind of feels like a painting that's just a little bit askew and you keep going, trying to fix it, but it just keeps tilting a little bit. So I was aware of this as I was knitting the sock, like I wasn't really enjoying how the green was knitting up. And so I decided to switch entirely to the brown. My original plan was to do the whole thing in green, have a brown heel and a brown toe. I don't like the decision I made. I actually wish that I had just embraced the green, stuck with my original plan, because I think it would have still overall looked better than it does now. And I'm being really critical, but this is a lot of time and energy, and I want things to look, I want to enjoy how they look in the end, and I don't. So it's a little bit frustrating and a little bit disappointing. Now that I stopped doing the green just as I started the heel work, basically it's the end of the ankle and the beginning of the foot. And I feel like this harsh line right there at the bend is very abrupt and very jarring. And I think I would have rather either had the brown come up higher so that it was, the brown was already in the turn, or like I said, just stuck with my original plan. So that part of it, I was a little bit disappointed. But the worst part of it is, I think it's the worst part of it. The toe, I really messed up the toe. And for a while now in this pattern, I have been a little bit confused by the toe directions and what I'm supposed to do. And clearly I didn't get it again. And then I messed up my Kitchener stitch at the very end because I think my heart was already I had already given up on the project. I was already I'm not happy with this, but I'm going to see it through and I'm going to finish the sock. Anyways, it's funny because I actually reached out to Claire at the Ginger Ninja for some guidance on the toe, and she told me, she interpreted it for me. Between her and another knitting friend of hers, they were able to explain to me what the toe is supposed to be doing. And it vaguely made sense, but it's funny, it didn't click until now, when I just finished this sock on double pointed needles. Now this is a Scrappy sock. This is another Emily Foden pattern. It's basically this pattern but held double, so everything's just a little bit bigger and a little bit fluffier. And I thought this would be the perfect way to use up a lot of little balls of yarn that I have. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and it's super cozy and comfy and rustic. And now see, this mess does not bother me as much because it feels more random. And I don't know, I don't know. Anyways, so knitting in the round with socks, I feel like is actually a lot more intuitive. The way socks, at least all of the socks that I've knit thus far, they follow a certain structure. And when using the cable needles, let's see if I can explain what I'm trying to say. When using the cable needles, it feels like there's a remnant of some other technique that is no longer being implemented. Whereas when you use the double pointed needles, it feels like the structure of the sock, or the approach for how to knit the sock, is exactly what it needs to be. This feels like the original, and then the cable is a modified version with leftovers of how you organize your needles and double pointed needles. Did that make any sense? Basically, I wish I had the heel turn on the line right now, because it makes a lot more sense the way the needles divide up your work. And your beginning of round, you don't have to use cable markers or anything, because your needles essentially serve that function and they organize your work and where you need to be at any given time. And so now having done that, like this toe makes perfect sense to me. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing with this toe. I understand. It makes sense. Double pointed needles, knitting socks feel very intuitive, and it's organized just perfectly. Anyways, I knit this basically up in a day. I started it on December 1st, but had only gotten to about here because I started it very late in the evening, and then spent all day Saturday knitting the rest of it. And now it's done, and I'm so excited to wear this. It reminds me of what I've always called, what's the word? I forgot the word. Well, maybe it'll come to me. I'm sorry. This felt very rewarding. It felt I was in need of a win because it just has been a little bit discouraging. So many knitting attempts and so many mistakes and having to tink back or frog completely or whatever. And I just wanted something successful. While the shawl is a total success, it's still far from being done. And I wanted something quick and easy that just boosted my confidence a little bit and felt more encouraging than discouraging, because everything has felt a little bit discouraging. Like this. This is my totally tessellated sock, which is gorgeous. And I love how the colors, they go so well together. These colors are so beautiful. And mosaic knitting, turns out, is actually really simple and straightforward. And I think finding that out, discovering that, maybe has been a detriment because my expectation was that this would be a really simple and easy, straightforward, and quick sock to knit up. And it has been nothing of the sort. While the technique for mosaic knitting and the whole sock really is very simple, I have had some issues and it's just kind of been frustrating. One of the issues was my sizing. And I waffled between two sizes because I was in between two sizes and I wasn't sure, like, did I want my sock to feel a little snugger or fit a little looser? And I kept going back and forth, and in the end I decided to go with the smaller size. Well, turns out that was too small and it was very, very hard to get over my heel. I could do it, but it took some time and took a lot of finagling. I had knitted to probably about this much, and before deciding this is not the right size, I need to go up a size. Pulled it all out, restarted. By the way, pulling out this Surrey alpaca, fluffy, super light and thin, grippy, floaty yarn is kind of a pain in the butt to pull out, but I did it because these materials are precious and I didn't want to waste anything. So I pulled it out, restarted the whole thing, went with the bigger size. It's still just a little bit tight and it still takes some time to get around my heel, which is very frustrating. And I think I'm just going to keep moving forward with it because ultimately I can still do it. I can still fit it on, and maybe in the blocking process it will stretch out just a little bit. This is all, even though it's mosaic knitting, it's all knit stitches, knits and slips basically, but there's not a whole lot of stretch. Not like in a ribbed sock where it stretches a whole heck of a lot. Anyways, but it's so beautiful. I've had to tink back a couple of times, which has been not that pleasant, mostly I think because of this super light, fluffy, grippy, floaty yarn. The other issue that I've had is just yarn management. You're constantly attached to 3 different balls, and there was a point in which I actually dropped this basket and the balls rolled everywhere and got really tangled, and it was such a frustrating mess. The other issue I've had is, there was a couple of times that I had to tink back for various reasons, and I don't need to go into them, but the other thing, so I was feeling a little discouraged and God, I just need a win. And this was before I had knitted this sock. And so I was looking at my needles and I was looking at my yarn stash and thinking what could I do? what could I do that would make me feel some success? And I noticed that on my little needle wall, I had US 1.5 size circular needles, which is what this pattern uses. And I thought that's odd because I had to buy a set of needles for this pattern specifically. Why are they hanging on the wall, and what needles am I using for this? Turns out I'm using a US size 1 needle, which probably accounts for my gauge just a little bit. I wonder if I had used the 1.5 needle as called for, if this would fit perfectly, in fact. And so that's a little bit frustrating. I'm not going back. I'm not tinking, or I'm not frogging it at this point. I'm just gonna make it work. Ultimately, it is beautiful, and I love so much how these colors are knitting up. Oh, it's gorgeous. And I think this is gonna be a really comfy, cozy, soft, warm sock to wear this winter. It's a little bit more fussy than I realized it would be, primarily because of this. Now, if this was held together with another yarn, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but because you're using this separately, it always is wrapping around things and getting all up in the way. So the other thing that I started was the Gloam cardigan by Caitlin Hunter. I couldn't resist. I've had this Spin Cycle Metamorphic Plum yarn for a while now, and it's just been taunting me because I love this yarn. I love the way it feels. I love the weight of it. I love the colors. It's just, I couldn't wait. and I was hesitant because I have the Shawl project, and that is my big project right now. And so I don't really have the time or mental energy to be working simultaneously with another big project. But I just couldn't resist, and I started it. The construction is really strange. You start off with 2 separate panels, and then you seam them together, and doing short rows for the very first time. And I did them wrong, unfortunately. I didn't realize that, I don't think you could really tell what I've done wrong. Let's see if there we go. So there shouldn't be this shaping here. There's actually, I've made a little lump and so I was like, okay, this is gonna have to get pulled out, unfortunately, which is a bit of a bummer. I love the drape of this yarn. Look at that, it's gonna be so great. I cannot wait. I love how this is knitting up. This is a 70% recycled wool yarn, and there's little flecks of gray and red and black, and it's really beautiful. But I do have to pull it out. And I was feeling a little like, oh gosh, maybe I can't do this cardigan. Maybe I'm not skilled enough. And then I found a YouTube tutorial, and I'm so excited. It's for this cardigan specifically. And now I know what I'm supposed to do with those short rows, and I know how to approach them next time. So I will have to pull this out, but I feel confident now that I can do the cardigan, having that little bit of online help, which is very greatly appreciated. So I'm gonna have to frog that at some point, but it's not really a priority because I want to finish that shawl. That's my priority. I also have one fingerless glove knit up. This is a Christmas gift for someone, so it fits a little bit large for my hand, but I hope it will fit perfectly for the person that is intended for this gift. And it's really soft and really warm, and I think it's going to be a great little glove. So I have to finish the second one, of course, before Christmas. And oh, there is one other thing that I started because I was just, my projects, the shawl is really large, and I can take it places, but it's not as easy to throw in my backpack and go. And so it doesn't feel as portable. This sock, which is the other project that I had been working on, is not portable at all. It doesn't feel, because I just worry about those yarns getting tangled up. And so that lives here at home. And I was just missing one of those more mindless, really portable projects where you don't have to focus a lot. And not that the shawl you have to focus a lot. You can actually pretty much check out, I would say, but it's not as portable. And so I did start another DRK everyday sock with some yarn that I had in my stash that I bought over the summer, and I've been a little intimidated by it because it has the neon colors, but I love how it's knitting up. I think it's really, really beautiful. And I've paired it with some leftover bear paw sock from the farmer's daughter. I don't remember the name. Dumpling is the name. And so a really neutral base. And so I'm going to have this be the heel color and then also do some racing stripes at the ankle with this. And I think this is going to be gorgeous. And I'm actually really excited for this pair of socks. So this is like, now I have 2 socks that are super easy and very toteable. And so I feel a little better about where we're sitting knit-wise. And that is it. I'm starting to lose my voice. Brian and I have both been sick, although to be fair, my sickness has been so mild. I feel ashamed to call it a sickness. He, however, has been hit really hard, and I've never seen him so sick before. But he's on the mend, and I'm gonna go. So thank you so much for watching, and happy December, everyone.